Yeah. Hey, Steven, you know, I said intention, or was it attention? Intention?
Huh?
Attention in the scripted video where I said that you said that I had to re-say something because I said something wrong. And then you're like, I guarantee you when I play it back, you're going to say the other thing. And I was like, no, I said it right the first time. You sent me the video where you're like, hey, here's proof that you're an asshole.
It wasn't attention. It was something else you said.
Can we play it? Can we play that audio?
But it's just something that could be approved in future models.
Improved.
I said that.
You said approved.
Again?
Yeah.
I said improved. I guarantee you I said improved.
It sounded like approved.
Well, I'm not saying approved.
It sounded like you said it.
It was approved versus improved. That's what it was. And I think you were supposed to say improved, and you said approved. And I questioned it after, and you're like, no, I said improved. What are you talking about? I'm like, no, you didn't.
Exactly.
You said approved.
No, improved.
And then you gaslight me into thinking I'm crazy, and I'm
You're
like,
crazy.
Maybe I didn't hear it right.
But it's just something that could be approved in future models.
Improved.
I said that.
You said approved.
Again?
Yeah.
I said improved. I guarantee you I said
It
improved.
sounded like approved.
Well, I'm not saying approved.
It sounded like you said it.
It happens all the time, man.
No.
Every time. It just happened this week.
Well, what happened this week?
You said something while we were recording the SanDisk sponsored video, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure you said this, and you're like, no, I didn't. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you did, and you're like, no, I didn't. I'm like, all right, I'll check later. You're like, check now. I didn't end up checking that second, but
Really?
I guarantee I'm going to find that clip, and it's something you thought you said, but you didn't.
That's because my brain moves at such a fast pace, faster than the normal average bear, and it just, you know, I hear what I want to
You're
hear.
just so smart. Your brain is moving crazy fast.
Exactly. Crazy fast.
And then the freaking confidence, man. You making me feel like I'm nuts every time.
Yeah,
The
you know.
overconfidence of, no, you're wrong.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong.
I said it right.
Anyway, guys, welcome to RAWtalk episode number 28, where we RAWtalk about RAWtalky stuff. We've got some stuff to talk about. We'll lead into the show in a minute, but we'll definitely be talking about the Lensa AI. Everybody sees these photos or images going around that are made by AI based off of selfies and photos of yourself. We're going to go into depth on that because I didn't realize I was starting a shitstorm by just posting these things that I thought were kind of fun. And then the comment section devolved in some situations with people yelling at me, telling me I'm an asshole, which I mean is normal.
I haven't done it yet, by the way. Debating if I want to spend the $8 or not.
Well, you know, there's a way to hack the system to do it to get 200 for only $7.99 like I did.
Oh.
It's not very hard. I
All
mean,
right,
it's
tell me
common
off air.
sense. No, I mean, just make sure you don't subscribe to their see, I think they have a game going on where when you sign up for a 7-day trial, and if you don't cancel the 7-day trial, they lock you into like $45 for the year. But when you sign up for the trial, you get a discount on everything else. But
You just got to remember to cancel it.
No, what I did is I signed up and I canceled right away.
Mm-hmm.
So I went right into subscriptions on my iPhone and I canceled it right away, and that was it. So I made sure, super duper 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 made sure. But we're going to go into that a little later. We've got a lot to talk about, and we're just going to start with the fact that I should give you an update on watching the kids for the first time. The twins.
Oh, yeah. How'd it go?
They're still looking for them.
Oh, that's funny.
No, I picked them up around 1:30, and I told them, they're like, what are we doing? I'm like, I'm not telling you.
Uncle Jared, what are we doing?
What are we doing? I'm not telling you. So I said, but you have 50 minutes before we leave. Okay? That's 50. I proceed to fall asleep on the sofa because every time I sit on my brother's sofa, for whatever reason, it just puts me to sleep. So I need to not do that. But anyway, it was me and the kids. I got them in the car. They put on their seat belts. They didn't get in any fights in the car, though they did find $2 in the back seat. And then I was like, well, you each could have one. So I gave them each $1. So they each got $1. And then they found a football in the back seat, and they're like, "Can we have this?"
All kinds of toys in your SUV.
I gave them the football because it's been in my car forever, so I gave them the Nerf football. It's a Pepsi Nerf football. I don't know where I got it, but it's been in the back of the car because you never know when you need a Nerf football in the back of your car.
Never know.
So I gave it to the kids, but we went bowling. I took them to bowling. They were super excited to go bowling, and then I'm like, $8 a game? I'm like, are you kidding me?
Uncle Jared's cheap.
No, Jared's not cheap. It's just that bowling should not be $8 a fucking game.
What's it normally?
Well, I mean, back in the day, it was 99 cents. So I guess that 99 cents doesn't make sense 20, for 20 years ago. Yeah.
Inflation,
but
bro.
Like $3.99 a game, $4.99 at most, but $8 for a game is bullshit. So I have to buy, each kid gets a game, then me. So that's 3 games. That's 6 total games. We ended up doing extra. So it was on 9 total games. Plus, they have to buy shoes. They have to rent shoes. I don't need to rent shoes because I got the best shoes ever. So I got my shoes. I brought my own balls. Then we had to get them bowling balls. And do you know what the first thing I did? So it was like $64 for 6 games and 2 pairs of shoes. I was like, Jesus Christ.
That's ridiculous.
It is fucking ridiculous. You want to know why families can't take their kids bowling or don't get into bowling?
Did you complain?
Because of shit like it's that expensive. I complain.
Of course you did.
No, I was like, that's nuts. And then I handed my credit card over and I did it.
There you go.
But so
it's for the kids, Jared. It's for the kids.
Yeah, well, the first thing I did was I sat them down and I said, there's some rules we need to talk about with bowling. 1, do you know what rule number 1 is, Steven?
Don't throw it in the gutter.
No, because there's bumpers up.
Oh.
They got bumpers. Rule number 1 is lane courtesy. Do you know what lane courtesy is, Steven?
You don't go in the other person's lane.
No.
I don't bowl at all. I have no idea.
Well, do you want to? Should we do a team outing, a Frono's Photo bowling night with Dan?
Dude, honestly, I hate bowling. I really do. I don't find it any joy in bowling.
Dan, his wife, your wife. I can laugh at you guys.
I'm good.
We can film it and put it on the internet, and Frono's Photo team goes bowling.
Does this bowling alley have a bar?
Yes, of course it does.
I'll hang at the bar. You guys can bowl.
No, you can order bar drinks right from your seat.
Sweet.
Anyway, so rule number 1 of bowling is lane courtesy. Lane courtesy is you do not bowl when someone else on the lane left to you or the lane right to you is about to bowl themselves. So when they're already standing on the lane, you don't go. So you wait until they're done throwing for you to step out and go. Because the worst is when you're about to go and some moron runs up next to you and past you and throws their ball. That's what happens with amateur fucking bowlers. Is it just
distracting? Is that why?
Yeah, it can be distracting and throw you off.
What if it's just like a family fun environment? Does it really matter?
Yeah, lane courtesy matters, Steven.
I mean, to you.
Steven, lane courtesy matters. Lane courtesy matters. It's a respect thing, God damn it. Do you know what the worst?
I can't wait till there's like a family playing next to you and a little kid goes up while you're about to bowl and you're like, what are you doing? Lane
first off,
courtesy.
I yell at them. I yell at them about lane courtesy. I go, family, you need to know lane courtesy. No, I don't yell at them. When it's kids, I let them go and then I wait. Like even if I'm about to go and I know the kid is coming up, I stand back and I wait because it's practice. It's practice. So I let them go. Like I don't make a big deal out of it. But if it's adults and you're bowling and you're about to go and they like run up,
you moron.
I'm like, fuck you. But no, I don't. Mostly I either say something nicely. Usually if it's not a league, I don't say anything. If it's
how
a
do
league,
you say it? How do you address this?
I don't
person?
say anything. Well,
okay.
So in certain situations, I don't say anything. So when it's just practicing and I'm out there for practice, I won't say fun because it's never fun because it's always serious.
It's bowling and it sucks.
No, it doesn't. I just wait till the other people go, and then I go when they're not going, so I wait. But if you're in a league and for whatever dumb reason the lanes, they're not supposed to put anybody next to you, you just be like, guys, here's I'm just going to explain to you. We're in a league. We're a bunch of cool people.
Like if you're an actual league, yeah.
We're smart. We bowl. We're awesome. You guys are assholes.
My brain moves way faster than yours.
My brain moves fucking faster than you, so why don't you wait lane courtesy? So anyway, rule number 1, lane courtesy. Rule number 2, don't cross the line. Right? Don't cross the foul line because it's oily and you could fall.
Fuck around and find out.
And they listened. Like Jules would wait. Someone was 3 lanes over and she was waiting. She's like, but you said. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, wait. So Jace picks up a ball, 6-pound ball, and he wants to throw it with his left hand. And I think he's right-handed, but I don't try to correct him. I'm like, whatever feels right for you.
Yeah.
And I watched and he put the proper foot forward. So if you're going to bowl with your left hand, you land and finish on your right foot. So he did that. So I didn't correct him. And then halfway through the game, he's like, can I switch to my other hand? I'm like, whichever one you think feels right. And he switched and his left foot went forward. So whatever he was doing was fine. And Jules didn't want to put her fingers in the ball. So she just wanted to throw it with 2 hands. And I'm like,
Which a lot of bowlers do, right?
Which nowadays a lot of bowlers do, like Belmonte, two hands. Yeah. So she bowled with two hands. First game, I got video of this, because I took video for my brother and my sister-in-law so they could see the kids having fun. They were almost tied. I think they were tied going into. He tied it, or she needed a certain amount of pins, and she needed 2 pins to win. And she came up in the last frame and bowled and threw and got the 2 pins that she needed to beat him. She had 3 spares throughout the whole 3 games. He didn't have any spares or any strikes. She didn't have any strikes, but that's normal for a kid that can't throw. The ball's not very hard. I had like 20. So, they watch me and like, look at this guy. Yeah, I did crush it. I would be like, in your face, Jace! In your face,
that
you
little
loser!
kid!
You lose! You suck! You failed at bowling. Go home. Go cry. I did make them cry.
Do you think if this was a couple years ago, they would have discouraged her not putting her fingers in the holes?
No, I think whatever way you get the ball down the lane.
Technique, right?
Well, there is no such thing as proper.
Even back in the day, like I'm talking like 80s, 90s.
Well, so back in the 80s, in the 70s, and the 60s, and the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
So back in the day, the bowling ball used to have 2 holes. They didn't have a thumb. They had a thumb hole and a finger hole.
Oh.
So they were right above each other.
So not a middle
if you look
finger
at old
hole.
videos, no, they didn't have the 2, right? The 3, which is known for bowling. Mm-hmm. So they just had the 2, and that's how you used to throw. Watch the old bowling videos on YouTube. It's great. Like Brunswick promotional videos are awesome.
That must be harder to get a grip, right? Like,
well, yeah.
2?
So the Brunswick Mineralite ball is covered in rubber and made, because original bowling balls are made of wood. They are originally carved from wood. So then they added the extra hole, and then two-handed bowling really started to become a thing. Belmont, there was a guy named Ascu Palermo. He threw with 2 hands.
Here we go.
Belmo threw with 2
Here's
hands.
The whole history of bowling.
Well, like umpires.
Please.
So Ascu was 2-handed. Belmo was 2-handed. And there's still a guy out there who's like, 2-handed's not natural. It's not real bowling. Yeah, fuck you to that guy, because there's no rules. The rules of bowling are get it down the lane, do not cross the line. Can you knock down all the pins? And how do you do that? It doesn't matter how you do that. If 2 hands and 2 fingers get the ball done, or 3 fingers get it done, then so be it. Your thumb. That's how it is. So
I feel like that's the only sport where you can really kind of do whatever you want in terms of throwing the actual ball.
Baseball. Pitchers that can throw sidearm, that can throw submarine, that throw over the top, that change their angle of their arm. So there's no right or wrong way to do it. And with bowling, there's the traditional way, but I don't want to say the normal way anymore, and I don't, because the majority of bowlers, I would say half the bowlers starting today, bowl 2-handed.
Interesting.
That's how they start to learn, because it's a new method, or it's a method that just seems to work.
Are most of the top end pro bowlers doing 2-handed these days?
So you've got Belmo, and you've got a bunch of younger people that are 2-handed bowlers, but it's still, I would say
50-50?
70%.
Okay.
70% of the bowlers are still bowling in a fashion where they put 1 hand in the ball.
Old school.
A lot more are coming up with 2-hand bowling. And there's even some of the old timers who have seen the way of 2-hand and have started to learn how to do it because it's beneficial in certain situations. There's no, one isn't better than the other. Certain ones, like if your ball over rotates a lot with 2-handed bowling, then you may not be the right thing for you. Anyway, moral of the story is I took the kids bowling. Then they wanted to play in the arcade, but the arcade took like credits with a card, and I wasn't going to go do that. Plus, we didn't have time. So they were upset. You said we could play. I'm like, I said we could look at the arcade.
Uncle Jared.
No, I said we could look at the arcade. I didn't say we could play. I said you could look, but we need to get in the car.
You don't want to pay a couple $1 for us? You want to go buy a new house, or?
So I tell them to wash their hands, and I'm like, oh, they wanted to get a drink, so they could get anything they wanted. They wanted Gatorade, so I got them each a Gatorade.
They have Gatorade there, huh?
They chug their Gatorades. So of course they're gonna have to pee at some point. I'm like, you kid go pee yet? And so Jace went and peed. He's like, I don't have to go. So of course he had to go. Then we're driving in the car, and she's like, I have to go to the bathroom. I'm like, why didn't you go when we left?
I didn't have to then.
I didn't have to. I'm like, of course you had to. You drank a whole bottle of Gatorade. You had to go. I'm like, guess what? We'll be there in 12 minutes. You're going to hold it.
Kids don't think they have to go unless they're about to pee their pants. They're like, oh, no, I'm fine. And then 2 seconds later, like, oh, no, I'm not good.
Yeah, well, no, he knew he had to go because I was in the bathroom peeing myself, and he starts. I'm like, oh, you didn't have to go, did you? All I hear is a stream of pee, like for like 10, for like 3-4 seconds. I'm like, oh, you didn't have to go.
He pulled an Austin Powers pee on you.
Yeah. So anyway. She was fine. By the time we got there, she was fine. She did go, whatever. So then I took him to dinner, did all that, took them home. They got to watch their shows. I had to yell at her a little bit because she doesn't listen. You tell her to do something, she doesn't listen. Yeah, they started to bring the football and play it in the house. This is RAWtalk. We're talking about photography. I'll move on in a second.
Play-by-play. We're getting a play-by-play of Jared's babysitting.
Yeah, I don't have kids, so this was the closest thing to kids. So they start to play football upstairs, and I'm like, don't throw the ball up here. You can go in the basement and throw the ball. The TV and everything's here. They're like, okay. And 2 seconds later, she threw it directly at him into his stomach. And I'm like, hey, you lost all privileges. Go sit down on the sofa. The next thing I know is she's changing the channel to put on Disney. I'm like, no, this is when you don't get to you didn't do something right.
You're in timeout.
I didn't use those words. I'm just like, you're going to sit there. Why can't you tell me what you did? And she's just like, talk about gaslighting. Talk about gaslighting. She will gaslight you and fake cry and fake feel upset because 2 seconds later she's fine.
Oh, dude,
she
that's
knows what
all
she did.
Kids. Yep.
But I'm like, tell me what you. I'm like, tell me why you're sitting here. She refused to do it. I'm like, oh, you just tell me what you did. She refused to do it. I'm like, go sit outside and play in traffic. Didn't actually happen. All right, you want to move on to the next thing, Steven?
Successful night though overall.
Yeah, they told my brother the next day that they really enjoyed bowling.
Good.
And they loved it. So that's
Cool.
that. Moving on to the next thing, we want to talk about our Spotify rewinds.
Yes.
Because there's so many people out there who have been tagging us that we're their number one podcaster listening to channel. They listen to us the most.
I mean, it's expected, right?
It's expected. Yeah, of course. You got to listen to Frono's Photo RAWtalk. So we wanted to also quickly go over our top finds on Spotify, and we're going to start with Steven, who has his Spotify Rewind opened up, so he can tell you his top 5 or
Are
whatever.
we on top 5 podcasts, top 5 artists, songs?
Whatever you want. Do it all, Steven.
All right, I'll do it all. My top 5 podcasts.
Podcast. Okay, fine.
Victory the Podcast. That's a podcast about Entourage, the creators and actors in Entourage, and they recap every episode.
We get more downloads than they do.
Fly on the Wall with Dana Carvey and David Spade. They interview a lot of the SNL cast from back in the day and even current cast. Page Avenue Crew, that's Story of the Year, the band. They do their own podcast about the recording process and behind the scenes of concerts and stuff like that.
And I'm so lonely.
Doug Ellen's Ramble On. He is actually the creator of Entourage, and he's trying to do this new show called Ramble On, and he's talking about the creative process behind it and how he's trying to market it to these different agencies and networks. And Smartlist, that's with Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes, and Will Arnett. That one is great. That's one of my favorites. They do a lot of interviews, basically. And then when it comes to music, my top artist is Hot Mulligan. It's all pop punk stuff that I like.
How many minutes listened to?
To that specific artist, you mean?
Yeah.
391 minutes to that artist. I'm the top 4% of listeners for them.
I'll just tell you my top, well, because no one even knows who the hell they are.
Yeah, they're pretty
small.
small.
My top listen, 953 minutes.
Well, you tend to put on playlists and just let them play over and over and over again, right?
Hit us with your top artists.
Top artists: Hot Mulligan, Death Cab for Cutie, Spanish Love Songs, Tycho, great instrumental artist, and The Story So Far. Basically all pop punk bands.
I don't buy that my top artists are actually correct.
Who'd you get?
Well, number one artist with 953 minutes, top 5% of listeners, Taylor Swift. That's number one.
You do love that kind of music, and every time I walk in, you just got Taylor Swift blasting on the sound system.
I listen to Folklore. I think her new album's terrible, but I like
That's
Folklore.
The one with Bon Iver, right? And the
Bon
National.
Iver.
And
Yes, that one is great.
I love those guys.
In my defense, one of the lady friends that would come over and go to my bedroom always would want to put on Taylor Swift. That's what she wanted to listen to. So that's why Taylor Swift got listened to during those long bedroom sessions. Well, that's what it should be called.
During those extra short bedroom sessions.
Yeah, it should be called Long Bedroom Sessions, the next Taylor Swift album.
Midnight, 3 a.m. No, it'd be midnight, 12:01 for you.
Yeah, 12:01 and 12 seconds. But yeah, no, Taylor Swift should have midnight, late night sessions with her boyfriend. I was sitting by the table and Soon to be. Okay, number 2 says Third Eye Blind. 3 says Nate Roos. 4 says Dawes, and 5 says Christina Perry.
That all makes total sense for you. Yep.
Well, it does, but it's not like I listen to a shit ton of Third Eye Blind. It just shows up.
It's
in a
always
playlist.
in your playlist. Yeah.
And Nate Roos, like I listened to Nate Roos's album, the only one that he has. It's from 2015, by the way.
I don't like that solo album. I'm way more of a Fun and the first band he was in.
For what the format. For whatever reason, when I was packing all of the Bernie photo books, I would just listen to the same album over and over because it got me into a rhythm. But Dawes, I don't listen to a lot of Dawes. I listen to a specific song by Dawes. Right? A little bit of everything, which is the song that I like. And then Christina Perry, I don't think I listen to that much Christina Perry, for God's sake. I listen to more Oasis. I listen to more other stuff. So I don't know that I totally buy into this. But
like, I'm actually surprised Third Eye Blind is not one of my top 5 because I'm an avid fan of theirs. I've probably seen them 20 plus times at this point.
Yeah, but how many times were you not drunk?
Probably one of those concerts.
Here, finish
they
these
are
lyrics.
Terrible live, I will say.
Stephen Jenkins, finish these lyrics. Doot doot doot
doot doot doot doot
doot doot doot
doot doot doot.
Yeah.
Yes, I got it. Yeah, that's actually like my least favorite Third Eye Blind song.
What's your favorite song from them?
Motorcycle Drive-By is probably up there. That's a great jam.
That's on all my soft playlists. It just comes up, but I'm tired of listening to Motorcycle Drive-By.
I've never felt so alone, and I've never felt so alive.
Are those the
so
lyrics?
Good, that build up.
Did we get them right?
I don't know, something like that.
All right, my top podcast, Pivot, which is with Kara Swisher and Scott Galloway. Part of it is they're 2 days a week. So they have 2 episodes.
That's
one
a
on
lot.
Tuesday, one on Friday, and it's about all things tech.
Okay.
I really like listening to it. I like their take on tech. I like listening to it. That's good. The Moth. I like the stories from The Moth. They're really good. I like listening to those. Business Movers, because I love business stuff. Business Wars.
I like Business Wars. I listen to them a lot, yeah.
Business Wars. And then the 5th one is How I Built This with Guy Raz, which I actually don't listen to that often anymore.
See, that's probably like number 7 for me, and Business Wars is probably number 6 if I had to guess, because they're the other 2 podcasts that I really listen to.
Yeah.
I think the Victory one, that's number 1 probably because they're like 2 times a week as well.
And that's what it comes down to. If they're 2 times a week, they
what
start
I don't get
to...
is my number 1 song is Death Cab for Cutie's latest single from the new album called Roman Candles, and it says I listened 25 times, but I feel like that's not that many times.
No.
Like, I would think it'd be like 75 times or 100 that I listened to that song for being number 1 for me, you know?
I don't know.
I don't know how
buy into their
accurate
algorithm.
these Spotify Wrapped.
Maybe they didn't program their AI properly, which we'll be talking about a little later on. Yay. So that's our Spotify Wrap. If you guys want to tag us in any of the Spotify Wraps because you listen to podcast, Frono's Photo RAWtalk, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
We should be number 1.
No, I'm saying, what is wrong with you that you actually listen to us that much? Thank you.
You have a problem.
Thank you. We thank you. I hope you enjoy the show. I hope you enjoy it.
I hope
Thank
you
very much
enjoy
for
learning
listening.
about reffing and umpiring and babysitting.
And bowling. Yes.
And bowling.
Yeah, I like
Terrible
bowling.
sport.
Yeah, speaking of bowling, which is not a terrible sport, Steven, you shot your holiday photos this weekend?
I did.
How'd that work out?
It's always a brutal process, man, because I'm attempting to take these photos. I do the setup myself. I do the actual photography myself, taking the picture, and then I have to try and get my dog looking at camera in between us, staying still at the same time.
And your dog is half a moron, right?
Oh, he's a
whole moron?
He's not the sharpest tool in the shed for sure. Yeah. But I love him. He's such a good pup. Anyway, so I basically destroyed my living room, setting all of this stuff up. I had to take the couch out. I did not post this yet. Now,
are you going to post it so these people can find you on Instagram and look at it?
I'm not sure. I usually post it closer to Christmas time, but I'm going to try and talk to the wife and see if I have permission to post it early. We did just order our holiday cards that, this picture is obviously included in.
Can't wait to get it. So when I get holiday cards from people, I look at them and then they go right in the trash.
Hey, that's $2 right there.
I don't know why you wasted. Just say Happy Holidays, you
Dude,
Jew.
what's crazy is they charge like an extra $1 for like a colored envelope or like foiling or something like that. And it's like, why? You're literally ripping up the envelope and throwing it out. Who cares
what color
what
is that
it
envelope?
I mean, ours is just white, whatever the normal one is.
That's racist, Steven.
I was waiting for
What
you
do
to
you
say it.
mean whatever the normal one is? They charge extra for a black envelope?
Colored envelopes,
Brown?
I guess. Yeah.
That's racism at its finest, Steven. That's bullshit.
Okay.
I know why. Do you know why? Because it costs more money to dye the paper.
Sure,
They have
of course.
to dye the paper.
Yes.
That's bullshit, though. Did you pay the extra $1 for a colored envelope?
No, of course not.
Did your wife try to get you to do it, though?
No, she couldn't care less. She was on my. I'm like, no, we're not buying an extra envelope or buying like, I forget what else all the upcharges, man. There's like different types of paper you can have, and I'm like, all right, it's not that big of a deal. We're not gonna spend another $1 because I want this eggshell formatted paper.
Do you know you know how I do my wedding cards? And I've said this before. I do the best wedding cards. I spend the most amount of money on them, zero, because I fold up a piece of paper into a card and I draw stick figures with a cartoon and a note, and it's the best card ever. Everybody loves them.
It actually, your card was a very thoughtful card. Yes.
And there's those losers that go out and buy cards because they're too losery to like make a card. You should do it yourself. It means a lot more than just being like, I'm so happy that you guys are married. Yeah, well, it's better than doing nothing.
And to be honest, you can only buy so many wedding cards because every Rite Aid or CVS or corner store has the same freaking card, so you end up getting the 50 of the same cards on your wedding day.
Losers.
There's nothing personal about those cards, and usually it's just like love this person. That's it. No personal message.
I think Todd had to leave after the thing. He had to go buy you a card.
Oh,
maybe.
I bet. Todd definitely was not prepared. Anyway, back to this whole photo shoot thing.
Yes.
I had to destroy my front room. I had to take everything out, put this backdrop up that I bought off Amazon for like $15. It's just a white shiplap, like farmhouse looking backdrop, which I will say, if you want a backdrop on a plain wall or even any type of wall, Amazon is the place to go. You can buy one for like $15. It might look like crap, but if it's blurred out slightly in the back of a photo and you iron it and make it nice and flat, it's going to look great. It's going to look real because I've done this 3 years in a row now with different types of backdrops and they look real.
So you used a fake backdrop is what you're saying.
I used the fake backdrop, yes.
Right.
Because that room is not painted yet. We just moved in our house 2.5 years ago at this point. It's not painted. It's just a bare white wall. I wanted to kind of spice it up a little bit, give it that whole holiday
basically
look.
what happened, let me just tell you what happened, is it was more expensive to get color.
Yes, exactly. So I just ended up grabbing a bunch of the Christmas decor around the house. We just decorated the previous weekend, and my wife loved that. I had to basically rip up the house and grab all the best decorations and put them in the backdrop.
Oh God, Steven, we just
What are you doing? I just put that there.
God. I just did it.
And I ended up using the R5 with the 8512, and the issue with the 85 is that it just was a little too tight. So I had to back it up all the way, nearly 20 feet away from us, against the wall with the flip out screen. That was the only way I could see it because it was literally right up against the wall.
Where'd you get ice skates?
So I went to some antique store and bought them for like $30. They were going out of business and they were half off.
$30 for those?
These ice skates were like, I think like 90 years old. They're actually legit. They're not just fake. They're not made to look old. They're legit like old pairs of ice skates.
So you bought a pair of $30 ice skates just to be in the background as a prop?
Well, no, I actually use it for my decor outside. When I set up all my Christmas decorations, I have the sled out front with a pair of ice skates like hanging off of it.
The weather outside is frightful. The something is so delightful. If there's a Jew coming down the street, I don't know what to tell you to do, cause I don't know.
Anyway, so yeah, the 85, I've found out that it's just a little too tight. I wish I would have brought home the 50, but I think I need somewhere in between, like a 70 millimeter focal length.
So a 28 to 70 f2 would have been
kind of a 28
good.
to 70 f2, although I really needed that one too, because we were maybe 2 feet away from the backdrop, and at 1.2 you get a nice kind of slight subtle blur, but I still had to mask us out in Lightroom after the fact and add an additional blur to kind of make it look a little better and more three-dimensional and give it more depth.
Did you use AI?
I did use AI, yeah, to mask us out.
Wait, this is fake? This background blur isn't real?
No, for the most part it's pretty real, but I did add an additional very subtle blur on top of that.
This is crazy. You're cheating. This is cheating.
But I ended up setting up 3 flashes around with a couple cheap umbrellas, like cheap young new radio triggers, which really shouldn't work with the R5 because I bought them how many years ago? But they do, which is nice. And I think I shot maybe at like a 1/16th in terms of power, flash power for the output for the flashes. And then I had one right behind us to pop and give us more of a 3-dimensional look. and they all triggered fine. I got everything set up with the Canon Connect app, which, by the way, they completely revamped, and it's really nice. I think it's a lot easier to use now. It seems faster.
What's that sound? Oh, see, is that the money truck backing up to Steven's house from Canon?
Not yet. Not now, guys. Later. Come later.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Anyway, so the hardest thing about this whole photo shoot, again, is that I'm doing it all myself. So I'm trying to trigger the camera.
Because your wife's no help. She's no help.
I'm also trying to hold Chip, my dog, down right in between me and my wife as we're taking this photo, and then trigger it with my hand and look natural and smile at the same time. And I will say,
he
after
does look like a dumb dog.
Maybe 100 photos, we finally got one or two that worked. But I had to feed him a ton of treats because he would end up, I think the flashes might have bothered him, and he would get up and try and run away every time a picture was taken.
Sounds like little Dan when we tried to photograph him here.
Dogs and little kids, man, it's not easy.
Had to give him a lot of treats, like donuts and juice boxes.
But yeah, we finally got him to look at the camera, and took at least one or two decent photos, and it all worked out in the end. And then I ended up using, I think, Cinnamon Toast Crunch from FroPack 2. And I love that personally for like a Christmas style photo, and did some tweaks from there and added some additional blur.
Yeah.
And
it's a shame that your fake, it's a shame your fake shiplap isn't straight. No, it's straight. I'm kidding. I just wanted to bust your balls.
Oh, okay. I was going to say,
I'm
pretty sure I made it pretty straight. Now, the hardest part, man, is I literally had to iron it like 7 times because the way it was folded up in this package that got delivered, it was just, you could see all of the crease marks, every time it was folded. So I had to iron the crap out of it. And then on top of that, stretch it out and really make sure it was clean. There was no wrinkles, because that you could tell on camera. And I did have to remove, with Content Aware, some of the creases and some of the stuff that I noticed after the fact. But you can buy a cheap backdrop as long as you have it nice and tight against the wall and it's ironed, or just, no creases. It looks real.
Yeah, your photo looks really nice, Steven. I'll give it to you. I like
for
the way
doing it
looks.
myself, it's not easy, but yeah, I think it came out really nice for literally doing everything myself.
Yeah, I mean, your dog does look like a dumb as dog shit, and he
Take it
just
back.
looks like a moron. No, because your
That's
dog
my
is
son
dumb.
you're talking about.
He's dumb.
Oh, he's the nicest dog you'll ever meet, though. I'll tell you that.
Did your wife get antsy this whole time?
No, she was pretty good. I think the entire shoot lasted maybe like 40 minutes of us finally getting like 1 or 2 pictures with him looking at the camera and us smiling. Because I would have the phone in my hand and then my arm around my dog, and then I would take the picture and trigger it, and it just looked weird every time. It looked like I was like forcefully trying to like hug him, but it was because I was trying to hide the trigger, my phone. So eventually I gave it to Nicole, my wife, and she did it behind his back. So technically she kind of took that picture.
Yeah. Oh.
She pressed the button, I guess.
Oh, what is this Annie Leibovitz?
Yeah, exactly.
She's the greatest photographer ever.
I did all the work and she pressed the button.
Who'd you choose to focus on?
Whatever the camera was finding. It would either find me or her, and then on occasion it would find Chip, and it was in just human eye detection, and it would find my dog, and he's a Bernedoodle and doesn't look like a human at all. So
no, he just looks like a dullard.
Now the only thing I wish I did was gave it more breathing room. I wish I wasn't as cropped in the frame, as tight, I guess, because when I did the holiday cards after the fact, almost every single template we use made you crop the image slightly. So I do wish I gave it more breathing room around the edges. But again, this is basically not cropped, and this is what the 85 looks like. I couldn't I couldn't back up anymore.
You have to post it so that people can see what we're talking about.
Yeah, look at my Instagram at @S_Eckert ECKERT for it. If it's not posted this week, it'll definitely be posted the week after.
No, don't tell her. Just post it privately. Just block her. Just block her from seeing your post, Steven.
Yeah, I'll figure something out.
No, it's for the people.
But dude, I'm also questioning, like, every time I do a photo shoot like this and show my family or friends, they're like, man, I wish we could just come over and take some pictures too. I'm like, do I start like setting up a makeshift photo shoot for the holidays in like mid-November and start charging for it? Because I definitely could pull it off.
Steven, I was just at the accountant
Especially
today.
if I'm behind the camera.
I was just at the accountant today. You don't need money. No, I'm just kidding. But I don't know if you're into that, you could set it up for your family and just get them in and then wipe them all, bring them in, kick them out. But then yours isn't unique anymore because it's going to look the same.
That's the only thing is, would I switch up the background with different props, different decor? Do I swap out the backdrop too as well? Like, because I have a faux brick backdrop. I've got a wooden backdrop. I've got a shiplap, all kinds of stuff. Look on Amazon, man. It's like $15 for a decent like 5x7 or 8x10 backdrop.
Steven is here promoting. You know you're going to get a lot of comments that you shouldn't be promoting Amazon, that they're taking away from the small people, just like AI is taking away from
well, wherever
from
you buy your
creators.
backdrops from, buy something there.
All right, moving on, Steven. You know, it's funny. I was looking at a video I was looking for something, and then the first video we ever did together popped up, and I realized it has over 920,000 views on it. Do you
What video
remember?
are you talking about?
The first one you ever did together.
The first one I ever did with you was, I'm pretty sure, the gigapixel photo shoot in front of the Independence Hall in Philly.
What about Antonelli? Wasn't that the first one?
No, that was like 6 months later.
No,
Pretty
it
sure.
wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm telling you.
Oh, see, here it is.
I don't know.
This is your damn gaslighting. You're wrong. I'm right. All right, now let's look this up for the
Steven.
people. I'm looking it up right now.
You look it up. I'm pretty sure
I
that the
guarantee
Antonelli.
I am right on this.
I think the Antonelli was the first official one you did with me.
No, what do you mean official? Describe official.
You were hired. I mean, you did like run out of battery that one time. You had to change battery, which did cost us like 5 seconds of footage.
I used my own camera, I'm pretty sure, the 5D Mark III, and then I used a bunch of your Nikons or whatever you had. And then remember, the record limit was like 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
So I had to run from camera to camera and hit record and try and hit record on that one and then give the other one a beat and then hit record. So there was no, we're not losing 5 seconds like we ended up losing anyway.
Best video ever.
Here we go. March of 2013 was the gigapixel shoot, the video that I did with you.
Yeah. We got arrested for that one.
September of 2013 was the other one that you're talking about.
So I'm right.
So you're wrong.
No, we did it first.
No, March is before September.
You weren't an official employee yet.
It was like 6 months before.
No, you weren't an official employee. I think that was the first official. You were just getting tested by coming out on that other one.
I don't know.
You helped me on the gigapixel. Did you help me on the gigapixel?
I filmed the whole thing for you.
You did?
That was legit the first ever like video that we filmed together. Yes.
How'd it go?
We got in trouble by the cops.
We got in trouble not by the cops, but by the park rangers.
The park rangers. We had a tripod on the grounds, which I don't think we were allowed to have.
We were
right?
absolutely allowed to do it. They were wrong.
That's because they were wrong.
They were wrong and said we can't set up there with a tripod. And I didn't know any better. And because I'm like, well, it's a park. It's a public park. There's nothing. It's a park. It's Independence Mall. And when I looked it up, it doesn't say anything about not using a tripod. You can use a tripod. So the guy was wrong.
Didn't we still pack up though?
We finished up. Yeah,
we were pretty much done by the time they came over.
I think he let us finish up, but they were wrong. Even though they had guns, they were still wrong.
And weren't they thinking about writing a ticket or something?
They could suck my balls if they want to write me a ticket, Steven. Write me the ticket. Do it, dude. Do it. Write the ticket. So,
but yes, that was not actually the first video we did together. Maybe the first hired video. I don't recall.
I think so. Well, anyway, so the last video we did together was the other day, which was
yes.
We're doing a sponsored video for SanDisk, but it's for a product that I've purchased, not the actual. So I didn't buy this product that we're promoting. I bought the product that was out before this one. It's those 4 terabyte
SSDs.
SanDisk Pro SSD version 2. I absolutely love that thing. So I bought a couple of them and then I reached out to them and was like, hey, I'm putting this content out into the world. We want to work with you. And so then when they had budget for stuff, they came back and like, yeah, let's do something. So we filmed that the other day, and it's going to be a sponsored video that we try to make it fun. And we absolutely acknowledge right off the rip that it's brought to you by SanDisk.
We always do with sponsored content. Yeah.
And the hope is that it's still fun and informative and that you enjoy it, because we filmed it partly at my house, partly in my basement, in my gym.
Well, at the end of the day, it's a product showcase for the most part, not a review. It's just kind of making the viewer aware that this product does exist, and we do recommend that every creative, whether you're a photographer, videographer, or whatever, that you have a very fast portable SSD like this, because there's only so much you can say about an SSD. It's small, portable, fast. That's really it.
Steven, it's the SSDs nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Speed, security,
durability,
and size.
Yes, SSDs.
I came up with that myself, guys. I built it off of dip, dob, dodge, duck, Dodge.
But the whole point of the video is that we try to take you to different locations, show you that you can always have it in your pocket wherever you're on the go, and just to keep the viewer engaged instead of having a talking head of you for 10 minutes sitting at the computer discussing a SSD, you know?
SSDs. Yeah. All right. Good conversation. Let's get into the crux of this. Let's get into what everybody wants to hear about. And that's why this is so controversial, because Jared goes ahead, downloads the app Lensa AI or whatever the hell it's called.
I can't believe he did that. Wow.
$7.99 to get 200 images of myself based off of 10 photos I uploaded. And I posted them on Instagram. Little did I know that by posting these images that this AI created, or whatever AI does, don't think it creates on its own. That's part of the discussion we're going to have. Post this stuff, and the comment section lights up. Someone's like, oh, you're about to get it. And I'm like, why?
I did not expect that at all, that kind of backlash.
Well, and I guess there's been a lot of discussion it's not even discussion.
In the art
community,
there's been a
lot of people bitching in the community that Lensa AI uses this other technology, which then scraped the internet and stole images and trained the AI based off of all these famous images and other people's images and didn't give them credit, doesn't pay them for it. And this is wrong. You shouldn't do this. AI is dangerous. It's going to take away our jobs. The same shit that we always hear over and over and over again. And one of the commenters came from someone that I know that I've worked with in the past who makes my logos. He made the Phronos Photo original logo. He made the RAWtalk logo. He did a bunch of other logos for me. And he went into the comment section because someone commented, boo, something, something, something. And I commented, boo, your comment back. You know, not really thinking much about it because that was my comment back. And then he had a lot of things to say, like, this is bad, you should get rid of this isn't right, you should know better than this, people are going to lose artists are going to lose respect for you because you're doing this. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree that artists are going to be like, oh, I can't respect you for because you're promoting this AI, which I'm not promoting. I'm not suggesting that you go do it. I've seen it around. I thought it was cool, and I wanted to see how it would do with my images. And of course, there's always underlying issues and underlying discussions to have. And that's what he brought up. And so instead of getting in an argument, I texted him directly and told him had a conversation that way. And I was like, you know what? We're going to do a podcast about this tomorrow. Do you want to record a podcast with me or an interview with me where you share what your thoughts are?
Yeah.
So that we can see all sides of this discussion right now and help inform people so that they can make a judgment for themselves. It's roughly 20-ish minutes, maybe a little less, and we will come back and then share our thoughts on that conversation, as well as what we think about AI in its current form, what it's done to get to the place that it's in, and where we see it working in the future. So here's my conversation with illustrator JP Flexner. Look him up, JP Flexner, all over the place. He's really damn good at what he does, and he had some things to say, so I gave him the platform and said, here we go. All right, JP, welcome to RAWtalk, where we talk raw, and in fact, you actually did the logo for RAWtalk.
I did, man. Yeah, and your portrait logo, the initial Jared Polin logo.
That is correct. The early Phronos Photo logo, which
right.
So we'll jump right into it. You were one of the most boisterous commenters on the post yesterday that I put up about the Lensa AI images that I went and threw up there. And I just want to hear your take on the whole thing, and that's why I brought you on.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate you offering sides of this, since I think it's going to ultimately affect everyone in the creative community. And I'm sure a lot of your viewers and listeners are a part of that community along with you and I. So this is something that I think is super relevant to anybody listening whose livelihood or even just hobby depends on making something from nothing, creating something, or having an idea, to create something. I guess I'm a little worried that maybe we're all sort of jumping into this AI thing in pursuit of selfies and instant gratification at the risk of not maybe analyzing the greater implications of it. If we encourage an AI model to work off of stolen artworks and we don't think about the repercussions of that for the people that created those arts, or the people who commissioned those arts, or the people who appreciate art even, I think we're going to find ourselves in a place where we've started to remove the humanity from our humanities, capital H humanities, our arts and our music and our writing and our photography. And I think that a lot of people, when they make the decision to use an AI tool like Lensa, which uses stable diffusion, which of course is based off the LAION database, we're tapping a vast archive of stolen art to create flattering selfies, essentially. And it's not that that's a bad thing for most people, but most people who do that are only doing the cost benefit analysis of, is this $8 worth 20 or 50 selfies or whatever? They're not saying, is my $8 going to contribute to the erosion of arts, essentially? And I think that now both of those things are not mutually exclusive, but I really think that for a lot of people, that greater thought, that wider viewpoint is missing. And I think when they're confronted with it, like they're like, oh, maybe this is fraught with some problems. Maybe we should have a discussion about this. And I think that's good. Look, I mean, I've never, no one has ever been right about anything all the time. I'm not. I spent most of my 20s being wrong and confident at the same time. But I will say that had it not been for people pointing out shortcomings or pointing out problems and voicing their opinion, maybe I wouldn't have been aware of it. And I probably wouldn't be the person I am today. And I like the person I am today because I do not still have some of those pitfalls that I may have had in my 20s and things. It's a chance for growth. We grow as artists, right? Like the journey is never complete. The photo, the illustration is never perfect. And if it is, that's when you start to get worried. But I'd say, the reality is when we, Mr. Angus making his appearance, when we do stuff that encourages the erosion of those points of contact for us and those things that make us uniquely human, we're going to lose our sense of self in all of this, man. And I just worry,
So what's your fear? That you'll be replaced by the AI? Do you fear that someone is going to be able to say, I want a Fronos Photo logo. Here's a picture of my face. I want it to be a circle that says Fronos Photo with a hair pick and a camera in front of my face. And that's what you're worried about?
No, I mean, no, not essentially. I think, well, a couple things. We're all kind of at the behest of Adobe right now in the greater scheme of things. Adobe seems to be so far very cautious in their implementation of AI. Now, it is, of course, in a lot of their software already. As you know, Photoshop's got a lot of AI in it.
Sensei. Yeah, we talk about this, Sensei
totally.
And sky replacements and cutting me out, right? I was talking
that's right.
I was talking to Steven about this, and I'm curious to know that when I cut myself out in Photoshop, is it sending back a mask? It may not send back an actual photo with me in it, but maybe it's sending back a mask because it knows that if it did a bad job and I go ahead and the next click I do is to use another masking tool, then it's going to learn from the shape. And wow. I mean, right?
I haven't even thought of that. That's a really interesting thought. I have not even thought of that myself.
Also,
I tell, as an illustrator though, one of the things that has been talked about within my insular community of creatives within the creative community is that, when we're doing tablet drawing, when we're doing Procreate, are we training AI to draw through a tablet? Are we teaching it how to make brushstrokes correctly instead of mimicking them from what is input, through a model, a model AI or something?
I think
now, I don't have to worry about that because I still use paper and pencils and pens, but I think I'm already maybe an outlier in that regard.
Well, I think it's like I see the points that you were making in the comments, and also I can only say so much in a comment on Instagram, right? To people, and then people are going to nitpick one thing over another. When I say boo your comment, I'm just like, yeah, boo your comment. That's what I said. It wasn't you, it was the other person. And I didn't realize that there was such vitriol floating around about the whole AI thing until people started commenting about it. Or I was getting messages like, oh, you're in for a world of hurt. And I get it. And after reading more and more, because I read as many articles as I could read yesterday to understand how it works and the diffusion and the fact that it scoured the internet to take people's images. I'll be honest with you. I kept coming back to the term I kept coming back to, okay, I look at artists as saying painters have learned from other painters in the past. They had educators teach them. Those educators taught them by using other people's art. My photography teachers have taught me through other people's photos, and I've studied other people's photos, which has all inevitably helped me form my style.
Of course.
But it takes a piece from here and a piece from there. It's just with the AI, it's been sped up. I sat here and typed in cat sitting in a park in Paris, sipping tea in the style of Claude Monet. And 2 minutes later, it spit me back these Claude Monet style paintings.
Sure.
Is that good? Is that bad? It's a tough road to hoe.
Well, look, I mean, I'll put myself and you and everyone else listening at ease a little bit and just say and assure you that like the thing that makes art is that humans make it. AI art is not art. I think AI art, the term itself, is a misnomer because AI never created art. It doesn't create anything. AI is only a chewed up and spit out version of what we put into it. That's how models learn. That's how the LAION database is compiled and why it's compiled. Without that database, there's no stable diffusion. Without stable diffusion, there is no Lensa. So really, AI art is a misnomer because what you and I do is create. What AI does is mimic. So even in its best form, even in its truest form, even with that cat painting in Paris, the thing that's missing from that, of course, is Claude Monet, is intention, is the artist's intention. It's impossible to know what Claude Monet would have painted in that situation when given those prompts. We'll never know. And you and I have a much better shot at guessing than AI does because you and I can analyze and we can think and we can determine. And AI can't do any of that stuff. All AI can do is what the algorithm has programmed it to do, which is suck in stuff and spit out stuff based on words using, again, a simple database.
And the major issue here is, and I keep coming back to it, is that you and a couple of other commenters, a ton of other people have the whole, okay, it took all these images without people's permission to learn, to teach the algorithm, to teach the AI how to do all this stuff. Yeah. And those people aren't getting any recognition. Is that part of it as well?
Sure. There's part of it. There's the proof in the pudding, right? It's the mangled mutated signatures that are appearing now in the AI generations. It's like, here's like a fragment, an artifact of an actual artist's signature that because it saw it in this negative space in this area so many times has determined that it needs to put a kind of blob of type here, but is unrecognizable, right? There's tells like that. It doesn't ever sit with anyone well when that like the service you're using is even if you're like, so what, right? I think that's where like our characters are on display. When we make decisions like that, it's the content of our character, right? We are not our professions. We are our actions. We are our decisions. You're not a photographer, you're a person, and people base their judgment of you and their opinion of you based on your actions and your decision making, not your photography. And the same is true with me. And the same, as much as I want to be an illustrator or an artist or a creative, I'm just a person first. And people are going to know whether or not JP Flexner is a good person based on the decisions he makes. And I've not always made good decisions, but I can make better decisions in the future. And that's a uniquely human experience too. And so when people in the comment section point out that like we expect somebody as brilliant as you, Jared, a photographer as prolific as you, to make better decisions, it's not a critique on you personally. It's just your fans and your friends like me looking at somebody who they probably look up to or have known a long time and think like, oh, this is a chance for growth. Here's a good example of somebody who I think we can bring around to the right side of this. And I think we can hopefully have a positive conversation about this with, because I know that you're capable of it, man. Like I am, we're all capable of growth. That's again, what makes us creatives and not AI bots. So it's all right, man. And we can all have nuanced points of view about this or disagreements. It's totally fair. But I just say like, let's not rush to give away this piece of our humanity. Let's guard it. It's a prized possession of all of us that we all share. And I think that like the erosion of it is something to worry about. It's certainly something to discuss. I guess that's what we're doing here.
Yeah. I also feel that it's scraping has been going on since the dawn. I mean, you go back to like Zuckerberg face smashing and taking people's images, scraping them off the internet. I guarantee you that MySpace was all mining all of our data. Google, you put all your stuff up there. You choose to input it and train Google to become better and better. And there's pros and there's definitely cons. I would think that AI or whatever intelligence gets designed or developed next for something, there may be some positive benefits to it. And of course, there's always going to be the negative benefits of it. And people have to weigh whether the pros outweigh the cons. But the other issue is that it's already happening.
Of course.
And
the genie's out of the bottle, man. I mean, the horse is out of the stable. I think we're not going to get it back in the bottle, but I think that we can take maybe Adobe's viewpoint of it, which scares me to even say out loud, considering how fraught that sentence is on its own face. You and I both know for multiple reasons. But currently, Adobe's standpoint publicly, I'll say those qualifiers, are that, it wants to see AI as a co-pilot to creatives, not a replacement. And as long as that's the viewpoint, I think that's good. I think it's an honest approach, right? I mean, I think digital photography, had its, the digital revolution essentially in the 90s had its sort of reckoning with artists and analog photographers and illustrators. And I don't think that there are similarities. I mean, people draw comparisons to them. There are like comparisons, but we're in uncharted territory right now, you and I and people in our generation. This is not like digital photography. This is not like drawing tablets. This is software that's made to replace us essentially in its purest form. And I just want to make sure that it's not about my job. It's not about my livelihood. It's about our humanity. This is about our appreciation. I'm in a room surrounded by books right now, and it's all full of art and writing and expression by humans. And, I can see a situation where 2010, at this point, 5 years from now, we have AI versions of a lot of the stuff that's sitting around me right now. And I think that I worry about authentication and authenticity, and where then will my inspiration be coming from? Where will I find uniquely human experiences to connect with that inspire me to create? Because that's really the goal here. That's my goal here. I want to be a reflection of humanity. Ultimately, I want people to look at my work someday and see themselves or see some situation in it and relate to it. And AI lacks that. So I just caution everybody: a selfie is one thing, but when you start using AI art to generate things that are supposed to express our existence and our relationship to existence, it can't do that. And I think in those situations we'll start to see the shortcoming of AI. And I think, for those reasons, hopefully, my hope is that we start to see AI eventually find its place in a role similar to stock illustration or stock photography. I used to get jobs from a place called Multi-Ab back in the day when I just started out. And they would give me a list. They could be like, we need Cinco de Mayo illustrations. Here's a bunch of different stuff. Make us stuff that's relevant to this. Here's 12 prompts, basically. And I could see AI performing that role. I just don't want it to perform the role of editorial illustration, right? That's taking human experience and visualizing it. And, stuff like the San Francisco Ballet poster or DBBDDDBO, the endless acronym ad agency that's bloated beyond its years in practice, and fully embracing AI and saying, yeah, it's going to replace parts of our team and we're going to make your jobs cheaper for you. These are erosions of parts of humanity that are worrisome. These are like canaries in the coal mine, essentially. And I just, like I said, I want us to consider the long-term implications of these decisions before we make them now based on our desire for flattering selfies or whatever the fuck. It's totally fair. It's totally relatable. I don't fault people for doing it. I really don't. I just want them to think about it. And then in the rare instance of somebody like yourself, Jared, who's got a massive following, and rightfully so, I just want, people like you, influencers, for lack of a better term, to be hyper aware of it and maybe guard it. You guys are essentially the guardians of this kind of thing. You're the gatekeeper, for better or worse, of what a lot of people see in their feed because you're popular. And if you're the one promoting it, the conversation almost isn't necessary anymore. The decision's already been made. The cat's out of the bag, as they say. So that's all. I just worry about that stuff. And that's why, that's why I jumped in your comments, man, because I respect you a great deal as a creative and as a person and as a friend. And I just, I want us to have that discussion together because I know, as a brilliant creative yourself, you appreciate and understand the nuance in it and are probably less willing to let it go right now than maybe you think in the moment. That's
just a good discussion to have. That's why I had you on, to have a opinion. I'm not going to say differing opinion because it's like, the comments make you aware, right? I read these things, right? They make me aware of things. Then I go and I study up and I read and I make an informed decision based off of what I'm finding. And some of it agrees and some of it isn't, doesn't agree all the time. Thus my statement of sometimes I come back to a lot of the comes back to, well, it's out of my control for the most part. It's stuff that was done unbeknownst to us on the back end for years, and regardless of what terms of services say someone's doing, doesn't mean that they're actually doing it, and they'll never get in trouble if they actually break their own terms of service. Because Cambridge Analytica, you look at all of the stuff Facebook did, and so they got fined a little bit of money. It doesn't matter because the damage was already done.
It's the cost of doing business to a lot of places anyway. It doesn't really levy as a fine in their eyes,
right?
Which is part of the underlying cost of doing business.
And so it's a matter of what kind of safeguards are going to be put in place. And we can't look to the government because the government is 20 years behind on everything anyway when it comes to these legislations. They just miss the forest for the trees because they pick some random thing that doesn't make sense. I don't know how you self-police it, right?
We're still explaining the internet to people who have positions in Congress and the Senate.
Exactly. They still don't get it. So, I mean, it's a discussion worth having. I understand your points on me sharing it. I actually came by a much later than most people doing it. I didn't jump right on it to do it. I waited and watched. I like some of the things that it created. I thought it was very interesting, and it wasn't something that I was going to pay for in the first place. It wasn't something I personally was going to do. And I understand the whole discussion of, well, it's learning from somewhere and it learned from other people's work. The whole, Andy Warhol and Richard Prince and all the derivative works that these people, and I come back to Shepard Fairey, right? Coming up with that. They're gray areas all over the place. But I understand your warnings and your point of it, and it's all well taken, and that's why I'm reading up on it.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer to any of it. I don't think any of us have an answer to it. We're now aware of it more because you pointed the stuff out. I read up more on it because I didn't think anything of it. Why would I think anything of it? I'm seeing it all over the place, and I just thought it was cool. I thought it looked cool, so I did it.
Yep.
I'll take a look.
That to bring us all back around, Jared, is a uniquely human response to something that's happening around you, and no one will fault you for that, man. I won't. And I'll say this too, man. Instagram comments are not a discussion, right? I mean, it's easy to fire a comment off on Instagram or be glib when you're like standing in the checkout line and it's almost your turn or something. Context and conversation is missing from all that stuff, dude. So don't take it personally, man. Really. Let it roll off. I know you don't.
I didn't take it personally. That's why
20 times more followers than I do on Instagram. So I'm sure that you're well versed in this shit by now.
Well, but that's why I like to have conversations and bring people on, because you're not going to say, people aren't going to say the same things in a comment section that they would say in person.
I agree.
So
and that's why I try not to leave glib comments. I mean, I do my best. I'm not perfect. I still do it, but I try not to, right? You try not to be reactionary. That's the crux of it.
All right.
Well, let me leave with this one thing before we go, Jared. I think that logically having this conversation brings us to a conclusion, right? And that conclusion is, well, what do we do? So I think two things. One, people like yourself and myself, people who put content on the internet and share things and talk about it, we need to try to focus on funneling the usefulness of AI into a place that doesn't jeopardize the creative community as a whole. I think, like I said, let's focus on making AI a thing that we exist around that doesn't replace us. Let's work on making it a thing that feels like it can exist comfortably in the fabric of replaceability, but not have to replace things. It's not permanent, right? And let's also think about our rights as artists. Let's start the conversation of like, how do we guard? How do we keep Jared Polin from being a prompt that's used 90,000 times when it's searched in, Stable Diffusion or whatever the hell. And I think there's a group that I found recently called Spawning at a website, haveibeentrained.com. And as far as I can tell, they're a non-for-profit, really just a group of artists who are trying to get this going. But it basically seems to be the start of a kind of way to guard, like a legal framework to guard against your work being inputted into an AI. I think for a lot of people, probably myself and you, it's probably too late. But I know that there's kids right now who are going to school and learning about art for the first time, and they're going to grow up in a world where hopefully there are some safeguards in place. So it's also going to be incumbent upon our generation and us to put those safeguards in place. So let's start that conversation too.
Okay. I appreciate you coming on.
Hey, thanks, Jared. Appreciate all you do, man. Be well.
Right.
Good to see you.
Yep. Good to see you as well. All right. So that's how you have a conversation with someone who has a different opinion or a different thought than you. And I'm not even, like I said in the audio, that it's not that he has that we have difference in opinions. It's that I thought I was doing something for fun. Right. I wasn't taking away, in my opinion, from artists because I wasn't going to go pay someone to design this.
Yeah.
Right. And he brought up the different thoughts behind it, that the app was using other people's art and training it, because AI can't just out of nowhere be like, here's AI, go make a piece of art. And in this case, it has to be trained and taught and made better. And so he's got issues with that, and he brought those up. What'd you think, Stephen?
I thought there were some interesting takeaways from the entire interview. Like one of them being people thinking like, is this $8 worth 50 AI generated selfies? Instead of thinking, is this $8 contributing towards the erosion of art, in his words? And I thought that was interesting. Also, like how he said AI is not art. It's a misnomer. AI is simply mimics. It does not create like human beings do. And how he was saying like art is not perfect, but AI kind of is. And those things make us unique as humans, being not perfect. And just how he was saying overall that we are starting to find ourselves in a place where we've started to remove the humanity from our humanities, like art, photography, and music. And I do think that's an interesting topic to bring up, and why people are so upset about this whole AI app and how it's starting to destroy art.
Well, first off, let me just say that art is subjective.
It's very subjective, yes.
And you could look at certain things that people have done in the past and be like, really, these dots and specks of color,
throwing paint on a, yeah,
right? You're going to call that art, and it's more like marketing. And look at Andy Warhol and all of that stuff, and so it definitely is subjective. But when all this stuff was brought up, I went and read as many articles as I could. I read a lot of different articles to see what they were saying, and I still did come back to the same conclusion for a lot of them, which was and okay, so what? Like, so what? They fed a lot of artwork into it without
train the AI, yeah.
Calling artists. Like, I get it. I totally get. I'm seeing a lot of people posting that stop using this. It's you can see that it's using signatures and it's taking that from other people's art and it's trying to mimic that. And those are fragments that are left. It doesn't know anything. But on the flip side, and I think JP also said this, is that the AI that's been fed all of this artwork, and maybe it's fragments, maybe it's not, but it knows that a painting is signed. So then it's going to put some squigglies somewhere. And I noticed it in the ones that I had done, that it knows that an artwork is going to be signed. So it's going to put something in the area around where it's going to be signed. And so is it coming up with that on its own, or is it taking that from someone else's signature? And that's why a bunch of artists are complaining about it, that they're not getting paid, that they didn't get paid. I come back to, again, okay, and like, you weren't going to get paid in the first place. And I'm not saying it's right that they're taking the work, but they've been scraping the internet for years of all the stuff that we post on it. Then there's so many things that they've taken that we don't even know that they're using. Like the fact, if you use TikTok says that you give them the ability to scan your face and use your face metrics, right? Like that's in the terms of service. and it's probably activating your camera and watching you react to these videos.
And at the end of the day, all artists are inspired in some way, you know, when they first got started by looking and recreating other pieces of art. Is it not the same thing that the artificial intelligence is doing? Is it's basically recreating and mimicking other pieces of art now, or is it actually stealing those pieces of art and using legit pieces from that art, or is it just recreating that art? So, it's hard to say.
I mean, the part of it is it's taking all of this information, and I'm no data scientist or AI scientist, but the way that I would surmise that it works is that it's taking all of this information, these millions and millions, if not billions of inputs of data, information, images, people's work, and quickly crunching to come up with something to spit out into the world. Like it's taking this idea is, oh, I like that in this back, or not even that I like, it doesn't know what it's doing. It's just been programmed by people to look into a database, put all these things together, mishmash it, and come back and give you results. And that's what it's spitting out.
So I was also looking up some stuff before this episode, and I saw that Prisma Labs, which is the parent company behind Lensa, the app that you used, they tweeted out a bunch of things about AI and what it does and how it works. And I do want to read some of that real quick to kind of define what they think AI is and what it does and how it works for them in their apps. They say, the AI learns to recognize the connections between the images and their descriptions, not the actual artworks. This way, the model develops operational principles that can be applied to content generation. Hence, the outputs can't be described as exact replicas on any particular work. It takes at least 10 minutes for the machine to make approximately 100 million billion, yes, it's not a typo, they say, mathematical operations every time, meaning we have a separate model for each user, not a one-size-fits-all monstrous neural network trained to reproduce any face. They say as soon as the avatars are generated in this app, the user's photos and the associated model are erased permanently from our servers, and the process would start over again for the next request. To sum it up, AI produces unique images based on the principles derived from data, but it can't ideate and imagine things on its own. As cinema didn't kill theater and accounting software hasn't eradicated the profession, AI won't replace artists but can become a great assisting tool. We also believe that the growing accessibility of AI-powered tools would only make man-made art in its creative excellence more valued and appreciated, since any industrialization brings more value to handcrafted works.
So the counter to that is they're using the word tool.
Yes.
And by using the word tool, from what I've read, is that gave them, seeing that it was like, saying that it's a tool, that gave them somehow the rights to scrape all the photos that they did, because they can say for educational purposes, for using it as a tool to make things better, which then somehow was a loophole to allow them to use the images to scrape to then throw into the AI.
See, what I consider a tool, though, is something like Adobe Sensei in Photoshop, or the new Lightroom masking, which literally uses AI to detect the subjects in the photos and then to mask it out for you.
But how did they train it?
I consider that a tool, though, where it's giving the creator something better and easier to use to adjust their piece of art, whether it being a photograph or whatever else. So
well, and
I don't
the way
think
that
this is
Lensa,
really a tool versus the other things that I just mentioned.
Well, there's other parts of the app that are like that. Add sparkles, add this, add that they're using AI learning to help.
Oh, I'm specifically talking
images.
about the avatar creation that it's been that's been blowing up all over the place.
Oh, I know. I mean, I think it did a pretty good job with a lot of mine.
What about, like, is it considered, like, from the music world, like remixing, that they're just taking a piece of that art and remixing and recreating it themselves, or like a cover song?
But in the music world, you have to pay royalties, but in the art world, you don't.
What I was going to bring up is if there was some royalty-based system out there that you could be a part of this AI as long as you get royalties, I don't know how they would even
to police
it. Yeah.
Again, people are, some creators, like, from what JP was saying when we talked offline and online as well, it's like, I don't think personally it's hurting the creators to have our, like, I'm sure my images were used in creating something, right? Because we've been uploading stuff for 15 plus years to the internet and maybe wearing like to Flickr, right? There's nothing that says that they can't just scrape Flickr. Now, is it ethical? No. Right? Does it break a law? Maybe. You got to prove that they did it, and then they shoved all this stuff into an AI. Because why wouldn't they go to Flickr or 500 Pics or Facebook or Instagram and create some sort of back-end system bot that scrapes all these images to learn and teach and not be traceable? Like, I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not saying that that's right. And I'm not defending what they did there. I don't agree that it's a tool at the moment, but there are tools out there. Luminar AI is an app that helps you replace skies. Luminar, you got Luminar AI. What other things did I pick up here? Luminar AI, and then you've got Aftershoot. I remember at a photo conference running into these people who are like, oh yeah, we've got a photo culling software that uses AI to help pick the best pictures. It weeds out the photos where people are blinking or not looking or out of focus or blurry, which would be terrible for that wedding photographer who takes all those blurry wedding photos because they would think that it shouldn't pick them.
It would nix all of them, yep.
Yeah, trusted and loved by professionals is what it says.
Yeah, but what about like
culling.
a panning image? How would it know that it's a panning image? Like, because it's almost like a blurry image to a certain extent.
Dude,
would it just not pick it?
They had to train it. They had to train it. But on their website, see, this is not something I don't think that. So we should do a test. We should upload a photo shoot with 1,000 images or some of. I don't want to upload my photos to them. But we should upload a photo shoot that we did, that I did. And I should select the keepers that are the best of the best.
Versus AI.
Upload the same shoot to the AI. Let the AI cull it. Actually, you don't actually upload it to them. You use the software on your computer because I read the FAQs. Uploading's a different thing. So how will their AI do to pick? Oh, can you make a note, Steven? I think that's a really good clickbait title. Don't give it away. Don't give it away.
As we do this
That.
podcast.
No, you bleep it, Steven. Bleep it. Bleep the title. Please bleep this title.
Okay, so bleep.
Yeah, bleep it. That's a lot of bleeps.
What's it one more time? I didn't hear you.
That's what we bleeped it because we don't want anybody else to steal it. You know, those Northrops, they like to steal our titles all the time.
No,
they don't actually like to steal our titles all the time. I just thought that was funny to say. But I think that's a good title for an idea to test out this culling software and challenge.
That would be interesting. So how does it work where if you say you took 5 pictures of the same thing, you know, just in a burst, will it just give you one of that?
Yes.
Okay.
It says that. So let me see if there's your culling automated. Spend your time on things that matter the most with one click. Aftershoot culls your photos while letting you retain complete control over the selections. Select your parameters, adjust desired sensitivity. Well, that could help in the bedroom for some people because some people are oversensitive and they could just spout off too quick. 12:01 and 12 seconds. Tweak the selections. Freedom from thousands of small decisions. Well, I like making decisions. Powered by AI, guided by you. Because you are one in a million. Zoom in on the key face. Quickly swap, sift through the duplicates on an image and more with a click. Map easy keyword shortcuts to change your results in a tap. So
I wonder, how does it work with like the paparazzi, for example, like where they almost thrive off of a bad photo. They want a celebrity to be walking down the street and catching them in a bad pose or like smiling weird or, you know, just looking bad in general. How does it pick that photo from a good photo or, you know?
Exactly. So one of these questions, how secure is Aftershoot? Aftershoot runs locally on your machine and does not upload your images anywhere. Our users are like our family. Oh, fuck off. We are not the snitch cousin, so you can cull your images without any worries. Yeah. Don't sleep with your cousin. Anyway, it also says if you want, you can opt in for our optional image sharing program, which uses the images culled by the Aftershoot to help make it better. So they give you an option to opt in to let them use your images. They're not paying you. They're asking you for free shit, and I'm sure people are doing this to help better make the AI. But I guarantee you they culled the internet before they started making this app.
They have to train it. Yeah.
They didn't just use their own wedding stuff, so they are using wedding photographers to do so.
Well, unless they're using one of these AI-based services, like what's the one they use for Lensa?
The Prisma, the LO,
whatever this, yeah.
The agencies. But I'm just pointing out that this one is asking if you want to opt in, you could totally do that. I know that's the biggest concern that J to the P had, was really that they're just taking people's work. And that's the biggest thing that people are complaining about. I don't think it's going to replace us and what we do.
Well, I do agree too with what Lensa or Prisma Labs were saying in their quote unquote press release on Twitter, that, you know, it's almost going to make human work more appreciated by doing this AI work.
Let's take it even further back. At the advent of photography and portraiture in the studio, how did you get portraits done before photography? You had to pay a painter to do it.
Yeah.
So you had to pay someone to do it. And yeah, did portraiture take away from painters' jobs? In some ways, yes. And in many ways, no, because the people that ended up getting their photos for a dime or a nickel were people that couldn't afford to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars to have a portrait taken. Yeah. So totally see both sides of this. I don't feel that me using this app, I don't find it would I be happy to find that my work was used by them? No, but does it really hurt me that much? In my opinion, no. So they trained the AI. I get it. They did it. I've put my work out into the world for years, knowing that it's a possibility that anybody can use it at any time, regardless of what terms of services say. People cheat all the time, and so they get fined, but after making billions of dollars. So it doesn't really matter.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think when AI is used as a tool to assist the user, to assist the artist, I think that's fine. But I think when it's starting to create its own work based on other artists' work, I could see that being, and for a profit, obviously, I could see that being a little bit of a problem. But at the end of the day, I'm not paying somebody anyway to make a avatar painting of me anyway.
Right, but me typing in here, cat sitting in Paris in a park, sipping coffee in the style of Claude Monet.
Sounds like a great painting.
And it spit these back. I'm like, well, to be honest with you, Stephen, I could, if I was doing a publication and I didn't need to pay an artist because this was good enough, then it would honestly be good enough. And that is the rub right there. Is it devaluing someone as a creator? And the answer is yes, it is. Mm-hmm. But this has happened throughout history where we've had to find ways to continue to be successful.
As technology evolves.
But no, I just said it right there. I'm not going to shy away. Like, as things become less expensive, if I don't need to pay someone to do something, then it's possible that I would use this thing instead. And that's not good, but it is what it is. And the other prime example of that is Squarespace. Right? And when I first started my first websites, I had to go to a web developer and I had to pay like $400 to get it built. And we're talking in like 96, 97 to have something built. And then if I wanted to have more images uploaded to it, I had to pay them more money to do it. Along comes Squarespace 12, 13, 14 years ago, and it was WYSIWYG, drag and drop. I no longer needed to pay a web developer to design something because this was easier and less expensive.
And you're constantly updating with new galleries, so it would be a pain in the ass to have to wait for them to upload the pictures for you and make a gallery and blah, blah, blah.
It is, but this is the same argument because people have always said, like when I did Squarespace, oh, you're taking away jobs of web developers. I'm like, I guess I am, because I can do it myself with this tool, which in essence is kind of AI based because it's like someone had to train it that if you do this, this happens. That's not really AI based because it's not thinking for you. But wait, is AI based like going to Printique and telling it to randomly put pictures? No, that's just randomizing, putting pictures into things. It's not thinking about what picture should go where.
I just think when it comes down to it, if you want complete custom control over a piece of artwork or a website, you go to the professionals at that point and you're paying a premium for sure. But if you want a template of some sort, like a Squarespace website, or if you're making a photo book, on Printique, then I think you can just use those simple services. But at the end of the day, people are still going to pay for a real custom painting or a piece of art or whatever it may be.
In some cases, yes.
If they want full customization. Yeah,
right. Like you're not probably, you can use a Squarespace for so many things. You've got Squarespace, you've got Shopify,
yep.
Right? Like these are all things that came along and shook up the world because with Shopify, you have your own store. You just don't need to pay anybody else to do it. So now you're taking control of it and you go from there.
E-commerce has come a long way, yeah.
Right. And that has put people out.
Sure.
Just like this AI where I typed in the thing about in the style of Claude Monet that is emulating his, but the AI has been programmed to know the difference, to know what Claude Monet is, to do something in his style. I could see using this. Now, with that being said, Adobe announced that they will not be allowing, they're going to be selling in their stock agency AI generated images, but they won't allow people, places, things, or people, places, locations, and done in someone's style to be something that would be sold on the stock agency.
Okay.
So I couldn't then use this. I don't know if I could say. Well, I couldn't put the Eiffel
You couldn't
Tower
say in
in
the
it,
style of Monet, and
I couldn't say in the style of Monet. But it is pretty cool for me to be able to type this in, and I could see for a publication. I could see for a web story. I could see for a video of ours. We want to create something different. Sure. I don't think it's going to take away our photography creativity, though. I don't think AI is replacing us. I do think that AI will find a way into our cameras, and I came up with this scenario.
it already has with subject detection and all of that.
Exactly, because they're calling it AI. The other thing
Sony
is,
yes.
I was thinking about Bruce Bennett, who works for Getty Images, who's taken millions of hockey images. Well, every one of those images has been uploaded to Getty, which means there's possibility that Getty is working on some AI on the back end to, one, learn how to cull images without an editor, right? So if they can see what the winning moment is, or if the computer can figure it out faster than the actual editor, I guess they could figure out what the key moment, key action is, maybe. But I was thinking, because of all these hockey images getting uploaded, maybe one day Bruce isn't needed because anybody can crop.
King Cropper.
Anybody can crop, but I could see one day where a camera is put on a gimbal, a remote control thing, and it's using artificial intelligence. Just like, if it can find people now and lock on and track, there's no reason that I need to be behind the camera at that point. They could put a camera up that has these, has real lenses on it. They can track a subject. They can follow a subject around. They can follow the play around, and they can determine what the right picture is and when to take it. I don't think that's out of the realm.
I still think the tough part, though, is training it to take the picture during the right and the wrong moments, because you want to see not only, if they caught the ball or if they didn't catch the ball, or, you want to almost take pictures of both moments. So
yeah,
that's tough, sports-wise.
Yep.
For the computer to know what to cull, what to remove, what the good picture is, what the bad photo is, etc.
Yep. Anyway, I just thought this was an interesting discussion to have, and you can see how we can see both sides of it, but I can also see that the genie's out of the bottle, and this is not going to go away. We use AI. We use these artificial things already with Lightroom and Photoshop and replacement of things and smart this. And every time, I said it during the thing, every time I select my hair or I select a subject in Photoshop, is it sending data back to Photoshop about my selection?
Yeah, you never know.
I think I look at everything as a symbiotic relationship. If my images help create the next wave of making my profession better, the converse of that is people think that this is actually making it worse.
Again, if it could be used as a tool to assist the creator, I think that's where AI shines. But when it's actually doing stuff on its own and replicating and mimicking other pieces of work that a human being has done and should be paid for, then I think it could be a little sketchy.
Well, that's what their AI is doing. It's basing it off of something that everybody else has created. So, but it's taking a mishmash and coming up with something else. I don't inherently see a problem with it in the current form that I'm using it with the Lensa app. I don't really see it. I get it that some signatures are being copied and all that stuff. I understand that. I just think you're barking up the wrong tree. I think you're worrying about the wrong thing. Just like when someone says, do you care that your stuff is, your video guides or presets are being bootlegged? And the answer I come up with is I don't worry about it.
Those are not paying customers anyway that are bootlegging it. They would have never paid from day one. So
they won't pay. And if they decide to be a customer, then I'll take it.
It's the same thing with people pirating music. Yep.
Well, right. Because look, Napster, was that a form of AI? No, but you were getting, these technologies change, things change, and right or wrong, you guys can share your opinions with us on the text line or wherever. Some ways I think are all right, and other ways I think are not. But just wanted to bring you two sides of it and have a discussion, not a debate, but a discussion. And that's the important takeaway from this episode, honestly, is the fact that I reached out to JP, who is a friend that when I needed something done, graphic design wise, or not graphic design, but illustration wise, I do reach out to him for his style because he's really good at what he does.
He's really good.
So I reach out to him, but I didn't want to just let it fester. So I'll listen to you, because the biggest issue is people behind their keyboards will bitch and moan and complain and tell you you're an asshole and fight, but they'll never do it in person. They won't do it on Zoom like we did. They'll just, let's have a discussion, not a debate, a discussion, because as he said, he's made mistakes in the past. And he was hoping that I would see a mistake that I made, which I don't think I made a mistake, but I also now have become more educated on what's going on in the back end. So I know more and I can make my own informed decision.
By the way, JP Flexner, he did the artwork for my favorite beer, the Neshaminy Creek's Double IPA, The Shape of Hops to Come.
He did do all that.
He did all the Neshaminy Creek brewery artwork, and man, he's good.
He's really done a lot of pop punk stuff. He's big into that.
Yes.
So you want to leave it there, Steven? Because I got to pee.
Yeah, I didn't expect that kind of backlash when you posted that at all. I did not expect it, and was pretty shocked about it. But I could see why they're upset, and I'm glad we had an open discussion here to see both sides of it.
And guess what? They're all wrong.
Guess what? We're right. You're wrong.
Ding, ding, ding. Ding, ding, ding. All right, guys. We thank you very much for listening to RAWtalk episode number 28. We'll be back next week, probably, with another episode. Thank you guys very much for listening. Come up with some hashtags and let us know what they are.
And where can they text in, Jared? Do you remember the number?
313-710-974. Oh, fuck.
You messed it up and you're reading it.
No, that's because I saw the raw part. 313-710-9729. That's 313-710-9729 to text us.
We do respond.
Thank you very much. Oh, yeah, because Steven reads all the messages now. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Jared Polin, frontnosephoto.com. See ya. Bye.
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 All right,
I'm
go
the best.
Go pee.
I have to go pee.
I know. You're doing it really fast.
Oh, wait. I have to go to the bathroom first. Bye, everybody.
Peace. Like you're just like rushing at the end. And I don't fucking care. I gotta pee.